Hey, folks, welcome to InTheMoneyStocks.com's daily analysis video, brought to you by the creators of proprietary price, pattern, and time methodology. Learn the PPT strategies and profit for life. My name is Gareth Soloway, Chief Market Strategist here at InTheMoneyStocks.com. All right, everybody, into the action we go on this wild and crazy Thursday, December 16th, 2021. Markets opening up higher and then selling off most of the day. Little bit of a technical bounce here into the end of the day. You can see this is the 10-minute chart. Notice this little area here matching this little pivot, also right over here as well, and we're getting a little bit of a bounce. You got a few minor bounces throughout the day, but honestly, this has been a very nasty day. As good of a reversal and bounce as the markets had yesterday, you have to take this as a very bearish indicator when the markets cannot hold their gains, right? So it's not that they just didn't hold some of their gains. I mean, if you look at the QQQ, I mean, this is absolutely remarkable. Let me flip this up. Here's the Qs chart. Look at this sell-off on the Qs. I mean, here's where we closed prior to the Fed day. Now we're basically just above that line. So this is where we closed going into yesterday, which was Fed day. We dipped early, tested the double bottom. Then on the Fed, we ripped higher. We have basically at the low, and this is amazing, right? The Federal Reserve came out right here. This is when the announcement came out, right here. And look at the low of today. It negated it 100%. Now we're bouncing a little bit, but again, notice how it's struggling right at the close right there. I mean, this is absolutely wild stuff, folks. And again, for technology especially, it is very, very bearish that the markets, that the tech stocks are not holding even some of their gains from yesterday. What that tells me is tech is likely headed lower, probably led by the big cap tech names. So believe it or not, there's a lot of smaller stocks out there, and I got to show you some of these. I mean, these are just absolutely incredible stocks. So here's the daily chart of the spiders, but look at some of these. Look at Teladoc, TDOC. I mean, look at this drop on this daily chart if I zoom out. Look at that. From 300 to 87. All right, that is getting interesting. You want to know why it's getting interesting? Because look at this pivot right here. That pivot right there, there's a gap fill right there too. So believe it or not, I kind of have a shopping list. SE, we're short SE, folks. Now, we've been out of the money for a long time, but look at this fall. From $375, now it's a $215. Got as low as $207 today. I mean, Affirm, AFRM. I mean, look at the drops in these things recently. NET. Remarkable. By the way, I will buy NET if it flushes in the next couple days down here. So, I mean, believe it or not, as much as the market kind of is scary right now, in my opinion, there's certain stocks that are getting close to technical bounces. Now, you could bring up other ones like Apple, which honestly, you could still see further downside on Apple. And remember, what was the only reason over the last couple weeks that the market was going up? When it did go up. And the answer is because Apple was going up, making new all-time highs, Google, Microsoft. I mean, it was one of the thinnest leadership roles in the market that we have seen in years, if not in decades, that was taking this market up or keeping it in check. Well, that has now been obliterated. Apple down almost $7 on the day. Amazon's down 73. Google's down 35. Microsoft's down over 8. And Facebook's down another 5. If we look at Tesla here, take a look at Tesla. Tesla is banging so close to this technical gap fill right here. I would be shocked if it doesn't fill it tomorrow morning. And then after that, I still think it's going lower. I think it's going to bounce, but I still think it's going lower. I mean, I'm still in the camp. And by the way, that gap fill matches up perfectly with this area too. So, I mean, there's just a ton of support there. So you probably do get a bounce. But then you're going to go here and eventually here. And then, I've said this for a long time, eventually you're going here. See this consolidation before the big breakout here? You're going to fill that gap, folks. Mark my words. Now, it might not be for 6 months or a year. I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to know. Timing is so hard, but it will get filled. And then, listen, there's going to be great bounces all along here. So, I mean, yes, am I ultimately going to hold my longer-term short until you get down here? Yes, I am. I'm going to make some money on that. We're going to do fine on that. But ultimately, it's going to be, you're at a point here where things are unraveling. There's no doubt about it. And by the way, banks today are having a phenomenal day. JP Morgan up $2.75. Oil stocks are doing well. So, if you look at the Qs, right, bring up the Qs chart, Qs are down 2.25%. Now, we were down almost 3% on the Qs at one point. We are bouncing a little bit, but look at that reversal candle. Look at the green yesterday and then this reversal here on the Qs. Yikes. And again, folks, I've said this before. I called the bounce here. That was a great bounce. Next time down, we're going to go through it. And next time down, you see this upsloping trend line, how it's matching with this one right here? That's your next stop. So you're looking at like 375, 373, somewhere in that vicinity on the QQQ. Incredible charts, folks, right now. I mean, the volatility is just absolutely amazing. Viacom's actually green today. How about that? Pretty cool stuff there. NVIDIA, which this was down, by the way, NVIDIA was down like $23, $24 just a little while ago. But I mean, same thing with NVIDIA. Huge bounce yesterday, and then it gapped up today. And then look at the reversal. And this has to fill this gap and eventually here as well. I mean, eventually NVIDIA is going down sub 240 back to like 230s. Now, will it go lower than that? Honestly, I don't know. I mean, at that point, you're definitely going to get a major bounce. But again, when will the timing be? That's the zillion-dollar question of how fast will it happen. If I knew it was going to happen in 3 days, I'd buy some options and make a fortune on it. But again, it's very hard to do that. All right. In any case, wow. Looking at the charts again, folks, I'm not going to bore you with too many details here. Bottom line is you could make a case that on the S&P 500, you tested this high, which was your cycle high. As of now, it has failed and come back in, even closing back below this line that we were hammering on. We have to continue to watch it. Again, we are getting closer to the end of the year. Remember, as we get close to the end of the year, volume is going to get lighter, or in theory it should, unless we continue to see these type of days. 85 million on the spiders today. We'll probably do 95 by the close. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, I still think, see the gap here on the spiders too? That's got to get filled. And I think it's sooner than later. Yeah, crazy. Spiders, good bounce, though. Only down 0.5% now. Wow, what a bounce on the spiders here into day end. Really remarkable there. Just again, kind of keeping my eyes and ears open. And, today, the only thing that I was disappointed in was the Russell. But the Russell was actually up a good chunk of the day and then just lost its gusto there. Small caps starting to get hammered. Even though the bank stocks are up, they just couldn't compete with so many smaller stocks getting hammered today. Although, again, getting a good bounce here. I still like the Russell, though, for a bounce. I still think you got to fill this gap to the upside at some point. Maybe into Christmas would make sense, especially if yields start to inch up just a little bit there. All right. AT&T, did you guys see that one today? How about that for a great performance, a little Christmas holiday cheer for AT&T, which has just been beaten down. I think I talked about this recently, AT&T and some of these other ones, these high dividend, dead low type Viacom, AT&T, Discovery type plays. And again, if you look at Discovery, look at that, up 90 cents. Look at the bottoming tail yesterday on Discovery. Although I think I said yesterday in the video, and I want to, reiterate it, is that when you get a bottoming tail on a chart because the market surges versus the stock alone, it's not quite as trustworthy as if the stock does it with a neutral market. Much more bullish when the stock does it with a neutral market. So, it doesn't mean it's not a valid bottoming tail. Technically it is. I mean, if you look at that, that's a bottoming tail. But, you do want to take a grain of salt with it, essentially. Okay? Let's go to the chart of Bitcoin here. Now, Bitcoin, again, chopping sideways, just a lot of chop here. There is a wedge pattern developing on Bitcoin that should be noted as well. You have resistance here. In fact, I'm going to try to bring up my other chart for Bitcoin. Bear with me one second. All right, so here's the chart on Bitcoin, and I just want to show you guys this, right? So this is the daily chart on Bitcoin. This is actually the chart that shows us even the weekend days. It's kind of annoying that the trades. I'm sure there's a setting I can fix on that chart. But if we go to the 15-minute chart on Bitcoin, check this out, folks. Look at this. So you have this trend line right here. Okay. So let's put that one in right there. And then let's put one in through the lows as well, from the low from a couple weeks ago right there. So basically what this is telling you is Bitcoin's coming into a time count, a 14 count, tomorrow into Saturday, and you'll likely see some sort of big breakout or breakdown at that point. Breakout takes you to about 54,000, maybe 56,000. Breakdown takes you back to 42,000 right down here. But again, very cool wedge pattern there. You can see it just hitting match up the highs and the lows there beautifully on the chart on Bitcoin. Now, if we flip over to the daily chart on Bitcoin, you can see that basically since the low here, this was that big flush down that we saw a week ago, 2 weeks ago almost, from Friday night into Saturday, and then since then it's just been chopping. What's kind of interesting is that we, with the stock market selling off, do we get deleveraging in the market, and then does that end up hurting the Bitcoin and the crypto market? It may. I mean, ultimately, you guys know I'm very bearish mid to short term on Bitcoin, even though I'm very bullish longer term. We just got to see a flush out. But anyways, just wanted to quickly go over that. Bear with me as I get my charts back aligned for you guys. Next up, gold. Check out gold, guys. How cool is gold today? All right, gold is surging. Look at the low yesterday matching up with that wedge pattern there as well. And again, the crazy thing about it, if you look at Bitcoin, right? So the wedge pattern, this is the daily chart. So you have quite a long, you could have literally weeks more of trading in this range, but just so cool to see how gold rallied off of this. I love seeing GDX starting to rip. I only wish I added yesterday to my GDX holdings, but look at that move up from yesterday's low on GDX right there. You guys know I'm still insanely bullish on gold, near term, midterm, long term, you name it, I'm bullish on gold. All right, silver, let's take a look at silver. Silver getting a good bounce as well off that little double bottom. Very good. You can see the little resistance right here on the chart that you have. We'll have to see if gold can continue its performance tomorrow into the weekend, as well as silver, or do they stall out at these near-term resistance levels? Lastly, oil. Let's take a quick look at oil. Oil, interesting. Again, nice little pop early. You can see right there, little bit of resistance, pivot, gap window, gap window, gap window. If it can break through here, it goes here. If not, step back down you go. Ultimately, I think oil is going to go lower, folks. Again, I just think the economy, if the Fed is going to have to taper as fast as they're talking about and maybe raise rates in the near term, it's going to hurt the economy. There's no doubt about it. And I think that slowdown hurts the global picture as well, especially with this new Omicron variant, not really affecting the U.S., but Europe and other areas of the world certainly is causing more of a headache. Absolutely. So bottom line is, markets continue to chop here. Rallying, actually, the spiders have now come in a decent amount. We're not at the lows, but again, let's flip back to the intraday chart. So here's the Qs. So you had this big bounce here, and now you're starting to come in. Be interesting where we close again. Remember, here was where we closed on, I guess this was Tuesday, going into the Fed day on Wednesday yesterday, and look at the highs here, and then we're pulling back just a little bit here. So, again, the reason I'm showing this, by the way, is because if you had such a massive rally in the Qs yesterday, if you negate that entire rally, that to me, and again, I'm just talking about what we were up yesterday, not from the lows yesterday. Obviously, that's adding this in here. But you gotta, that's not healthy for a market to reverse that on good volume, obviously. Very unhealthy. It tells you that they, basically it was possibly unjustified, at least in participants in this market's view, and they used it to basically dump into, could have been institutional or whatever. All right, I'm going to get going, guys. Thank you, as always, for being members. Wild stuff, great market. I should have some trades out tomorrow, maybe even some buys. If we gap down tomorrow, stuff like SE below 200, TDOC. There's a list here. NET we talked about. At some point, some of these will bounce huge based on how much they've fallen. We're going to get some good plays if we continue to see this volatility. Take care.